Prabhupada, his presence was so powerful that when you came in his presence, you didn't feel like you were a part of the material world. You felt that you were in some kind of a spiritual, transcendental environment. I didn't know about Vrindavan then, but now we'd say that Prabhupada actually was bringing Vrindavan with him. And so you felt the mood of Vrindavan whenever you came in the presence of Prabhupada. He was actually carrying Krishna in his heart. So I didn't understand that, but I felt that. Just being with Srila Prabhupada, I could feel the change. I could see that here was a genuine spiritual master that was actually practicing what he was preaching, or practicing what he was teaching. The other people that I visited, they had books and they had teachings, but then they didn't practice those things, where Prabhupada was. So all these things helped to build up my faith, but then Prabhupada was very merciful and he immediately engaged me in service.
When the operation was going on, they gave this anesthetic, they put the anesthetizer. And I remember I was meditating on Radha Ras Bihari and the Arti. I was just meditating on it, and they said count down from 10 down. I think I got down to about 7, and that was it. Then I had a dream, a very good dream, in which Srila Prabhupada had been called by the previous acharyas to make a report of his preaching mission on this planet. And the previous acharyas were all there. And they asked Prabhupada that, what is your report? And Prabhupada said that he had studied the people of this planet and he had found that they had no capacity for taking any type of austerity, nor were they very capable of studying, and they were not very pious. He said the only thing that so far they seem to be able to do is that somehow they take shelter at my feet. This was the dream I had. And then they wheeled me out after the operation, and when I came in to the room which had been assigned to me, Prabhupada was sitting there. Actually, he had come to the hospital. And he said, I came here as fast as I could. I wanted to stop the operation. He said, because I think you should have had this operation in America. But anyway, now it is there. And it turned out he had come all the way in from Juhu in a jeep, right in the middle of the rush hour, to try to stop this operation. So I told Prabhupada about the dream, and Prabhupada listened very intently, and he said, actually, this is so. He said, this is so.
My mother came to see Prabhupada after. I was telling her about it, and she wanted to see what. And then my brother came and joined me also, and she wanted to see what we were getting into. So she came one evening just before the kirtan. And by that time, I had also already been home to visit her, and she saw, we were strict vegetarian. We wouldn't eat the food that she cooked, and the pots were contaminated. She was contaminated. The whole house was contaminated, and so she said, "Hey, what's happening here?" Anyway, so she went to see Prabhupada, and Prabhupada in his room had one folding metal chair, which was meant for VIPs who couldn't sit on the floor. So this chair was put out for her, and she sat on this chair, and everyone else, Prabhupada, us, we sat on the floor. And then she was asking Prabhupada, what are you doing with my boys, and this and that. And Prabhupada was explaining, preaching. And so then at a certain point, Prabhupada asked that, I'm taking care of your sons. By that time I had left my apartment and moved into the storefront. Nagamuni also. I'm taking care of them, I'm feeding them and looking after them and providing, and actually we have no income here and so on. And maybe you would like to give some donation. And my mother looked at us and looked at Prabhupada and said, well, donation, I think I've already given a donation. I've donated my sons. And Prabhupada said, oh, yes, very good. And he said, that's okay. And, but by her saying that, and it was like she gave us to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada accepted.
Already so many of the residents of Vrindavan, and they told me that Swami Bhaktivedanta is living at Sharaf Bhavan, one very wealthy man's house, with his disciples. So I went there to meet Srila Prabhupada. And when I arrived, it was the early morning, and Srila Prabhupada was giving Srimad Bhagavatam class. And I remember he was chanting Jai Radha Madhava. And as he was chanting, I was appreciating like I had never appreciated anything in my whole life. I was thinking that the gravity, the intensity, the devotion in which he was chanting Krishna's names, I had never seen anywhere. I had met so many of the greatest yogis, the greatest gurus of the Himalayas, many great Christian saints, Muslim saints. For 6 months I was traveling through Vrindavan, meeting all of the Babajis, so many of his god brothers, so many of the very famous Brijabasi saints. But I had never seen such a depth of love and compassion in Srila Prabhupada as he was chanting Radha Madhava. My heart completely transformed. And then he gave his lecture. And when he spoke, every question I ever had was answered in one lecture. He spoke in such a way that everything I had ever learned in every religion I felt was included within his message, plus something far more that was sublime. And it was at that time, sitting at his feet in Vrindavan, that in my heart I accepted this is my spiritual master, and I must surrender my life to him.
And I saw on the door, it said, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's there. So I didn't even knock. I just opened the door. I didn't think, again, the etiquette, I was just so excited, I'm going to see Prabhupada again, tired and confused, a little confused. I opened the door, and I turned around, and I started dragging Prabhupada's suitcase in backwards. And I'm dragging, I'm looking at Prabhupada's room, and all of a sudden, Nanda Kumar, who was serving Srila Prabhupada in London as a servant, he said, "Hey, watch out! You're going to bump into Srila Prabhupada." And I dropped the bag and I turned around and I was this far away from Prabhupada. He was just standing there, Hare Krishna. And I said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada." And I fell down on the ground and I started offering my obeisances. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta. And all of a sudden, on my back, there was a slap on my back. And I thought, well, Prabhupada slapped me on the back. Well, I couldn't figure out if it was like out of love or anger. I didn't know, because either would be a blessing. And I can still, that right there on the back right there, Prabhupada's blessing. And I just continued, Namaste, Saraswati, and then Prabhupada said something. But I couldn't hear. He said it kind of softly. And then after a few moments, I was right near Prabhupada's feet. His feet walked away and he went to another part of the chamber, the room there. So I waited and I got up. Prabhupada wasn't in the room anymore. And Nanda Kumar was there, and I looked over at him and his mouth was open like, and I said, "Prabhu, what happened?" He said, "Prabhupada slapped you on the back." I said, "Yeah, I know." It hit me hard. Yeah, I know. I said, and what did he say? And he smiled, he said, oh, it was so nice, he said. Prabhupada told you, so much endeavor in this material world, but when I take you back home, back to Godhead, everything will be easy and sublime. Srila Prabhupada.
Well, after a couple of paintings where the proportions were wrong, he taught me a system. He gave me some instructions on how to make the painting more accurate. And that was called the grid system. And he taught me about, say, the pictures in the glass. The picture always that he gave me was in a frame with glass. So you, with some kind of marker or a paintbrush, you divide the picture in half, and then those two in half, and those two in half. So you get 16 lines across and 16 lines down. And so I would, instead of trying to do the whole picture at once, you just do one box at a time. And that's how it came out more accurate. And the first painting I did like that was a painting of his Guru Maharaj, which he gave me. And he had a little bit long hair and a beard also. And I was surprised because Prabhupada was a spiritual master and he was clean-shaven. So he told me that for 4 months of the year called Chaturmasya, where devotees did austerity, he didn't shave at that time. And that was the painting I did.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur had also predicted that very soon someone will come who can easily go from one country to the next, one continent to the next, around the world, and spread the Sankirtan movement. So Prabhupada said, maybe that's referring to me, but we have no doubt, Prabhupada, it was you.
Sangsara davanandalira lokam pranaya karuna ghana ghanatyam sapta sakalana gunarnavasha bande gurasi charanarabindam महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता बादित्रमाजन्मन सोरसे